Take a moment and breathe and try to realize first before you put the blame on someone else. Try to look within yourself to see if you're the reason why your world is tumbling down. Because if you don't look within first and you try to look to everybody else, every situation out there, as if those things are what's causing your world to tumble down, 9 times out of 10 you're going to miss the point. Because a lot of times it's within first that is causing your world to come tumbling down, whether it's the choices that you made, the people you're around, things you let people say to you, the respect you have for yourself. I can go on and on and on. So I think introspection is first, number one, when you feel like your world is crumbling down.
I think for me, when I look back to periods in my life where I just felt like things were falling apart, nothing was working well. You know, it was so easy for me to point, like you said, at everybody else as to why things aren't working. And we have to be very careful not to always be the victim. A lot of times we bring things upon us because of the decisions that we make, the people that we choose to be around, the places that we choose to go, how much time we devote to certain things. It attracts certain problems to you. And so for me, it's really stopping and saying, what is it that is in my control that I can change? It's so easy when a marriage is falling apart or a relationship is breaking up or your finances are in shambles, where everybody else is the problem. The reason why I don't have enough money is because the job won't promote me. The reason why, my relationship has failed is because this person is a narcissist. Or the reason why my marriage is falling apart is because my spouse, stepped out on the marriage. Whatever it is. But a lot of times, like you said, with introspection is where you're really looking at what part am I playing? How did it all start? It's about getting to the root of things. So I totally agree. It's time for us, I've said this before, to put the mirror in front of us. And I'm not saying that everything is your fault. It's not about the blame game. Me. I'm just a horrible person. Nobody loves me. Nobody wants to be around me. I have bad luck. All these bad things keep happening to me. No, but you have to first have an understanding of what is it in my control that I have the ability to change, to make my situation better, opposed to just pointing the finger at other people or other things in your life that you feel is allowing your life to just kind of spiral out of control.
That was key, what you said about where you start looking down on yourself, that type of introspection. No, looking within yourself, you could possibly find a fault, and then you find in that fault, you work on, making that fault better, not taking that fault and you dwelling on that fault, and then you just let your life go in the wrong direction. No. Find out what the root of the problem is. You found the root of the problem. Now that you know what the root of the problem is, you move on forward and progressing in your life, not going backwards. Definitely don't want to do that. If you do, it's horrible. It'll be horrible. So the next one is self-control. Self-control is discipline, pretty much. Self-control is discipline. When you find that root of that problem, whatever, you have to have self-control and discipline to planting a new seed, nurturing that issue or that problem. When you find that problem, you got to have discipline to build yourself up out of that problem. You're going to have to work hard on that weakness until you become stronger at it. Go ahead.
So something, I feel like we're about to jump out of this topic, but something we were talking about, right? Is our actions. I understand what you're saying, discipline, right? If I know that I have
self-control,
right? I know that if I have a drinking problem, right, I have to be disciplined enough not to go and actually buy alcohol, not to actually go to the bar, not to be around people or situations where they're going to be drinking, right? That's discipline. That's something that is somewhat in my realm of me to control, right? And so I understand where people are like, well, wait a minute, I can't resist the urge, or, this just happened. Here's something that we talked about, which is what is going into your ear gate, what is going into your eye gate, what is going into your sensories, your touch, your smell, because that's your intake. These are your intake measures, your eyes, your ears, your mouth, your hands. That's your intake. And once you take certain things into your body, it goes into your mind, which is your processor, right? It's processing what you just read, or what you just heard, or what you just ate, or what you just touched, or what you just smelled. And what happens is once it's into your mind, it basically sends various signals through your body that either you're going to awaken your flesh, meaning when I say flesh, there's different things of how you look at flesh. Flesh could be your physical flesh, right? Flesh could also be your fleshly desires, things that you want to do, which may not be good for you, right? And so now that you've taken all of this into your mind, your body wants to react on it. And you have the ability to say, I am going to listen to, people back in the day used to say you had the devil on the shoulder and the angel on the other. That's kind of what it is. You have a choice to say, am I going to listen to the bad guy or the good guy? And the situation is you have to make sure that you're constantly building, reinforcing the good aspect of it and saying, okay, I'm not going to actually go and do something because it's harmful to my body, right? You have to make sure that you are constantly feeding yourself or reinforcing your mind and saying, this isn't a good idea to do this, and here's the reasons why. But instead, we focus on how we feel. This is going to make me what? Feel good. We're looking for those immediate reliefs, which are essentially temporary reliefs, because now you have to keep feeding it and feeding it and feeding it to get that high or to get that euphoric feeling or to feel good. And then it becomes a drug, whatever it is, whether it's food, whether it's sex, whether it's TV, whether it's smoking, whether it's, being with a whole bunch of women or being with a whole bunch of men or whatever it is that you like that is not really being beneficial to you. And so we have to be extremely careful what we take into our system. If I know I have a weakness with, being with a whole bunch of men, maybe there's certain things I shouldn't be doing or going around, or if I have a thing for eating a lot of food. When I go to the grocery store, I need to make sure that I have a list and I stick to it. I'm not going out to eat all the time if I have a weight problem or a health issue. You have to be actively engaging into what you're taking into your system, what you're looking at, what you're listening to, what you're eating, what you're around, so that you can have better control of what you said. What's your word?
Self-control.
Self-control. How you go about having, that self-control. You have to put measures in place that protect you or prevent you from losing self-control. Whether it's not going around certain people, not going certain places, not watching certain things that are triggers. If you have a really big problem with your image and how you look, and you want to change that, and every time you turn on the TV, you're looking at these supermodels or Instagram models or whatever they are. You know what that's doing? It's making you feel, it could make you feel worse about who you are, because you're constantly gauging or measuring yourself against what you're seeing. And that could be very harmful. Some people, it's a positive thing because then they have something to aspire to. They say, I want to be like that person, so I'm going to do all the work that it requires for me to look like that person. But you have to know each individual person is different. I had to learn that each person is different. What is good for me may be bad for somebody. What's bad for somebody else may be good for me. You have to know who you are.
Well, I don't think I need to say much more about that. Know who you are. But that leads up into the next one, which is self-love. It's all about knowing who you are. A lot of us think that we know who we are, but a lot of us don't realize we don't until it's a lot of us don't realize it until it's almost too late. A lot of people spend their entire life never realizing who they are. So self-love is very important, because if you don't know who you are, someone else or something else will tell you who you are and what you are to become. But the thing is, you have to know who you really are. You have to go back to your creator. This you spending time by yourself and say, Father, who show me who I am. Father, show me who I am. Father, show me who I am. Until you show up. And once you show up, you will know. Once the real you shows up, you will know. Because you will find peace in your life. A lot of things that you thought were of value don't have value anymore. Because you will see that those things are nothing if you don't have your inner soul saved, free, at peace. All those other things will not matter. But when you find self-love, you'll see that. You'll see that. It's so important. It's just so crazy that we're here in this moment in time, that you have so many people that still don't have self-love. I don't understand it. That we strive and hunger for and yearn for it, but not many people take the time to research it and learn about it, and learn about your body and learn about your mind and the makeup of what you are.
I'll say this. Loving yourself is huge, right? Because when you love yourself, you're really set on finding out what your purpose is, right? So you can come full circle. It makes me kind of think of iRobot, the movie. It's kind of an old movie, but it's relevant in my situation. But an iRobot, they were about upgrading and creating these new robots, and they were putting away the old ones. There was no longer a use for them. And they sent the robots off to some desert or whatever, and they were just in containers, just existing. Had no urge to go out and do anything else, because these robots knew what their purpose was, which was to help people. And you got to think about yourself. When you don't know what your purpose is, you're just existing. You just feel empty. You don't feel complete. You don't really know what you're supposed to do with your life. And like you said, it first starts with self-love. And when you love yourself, you're going to actually treat people differently, right? Because if I love myself, then I'm able to love somebody else genuinely. And if I'm able to love someone else genuinely, I'll treat them differently. I'll treat them better, because I'm first treating myself in a good way. It'll make me want to treat other people good in that kind of way. Another thing is, I won't be having the need and the urge for other people to love me, because I love myself. A lot of people get in relationships because they're looking for love, because they don't love themselves. They're looking for their spouse, their boyfriend, girlfriend. They're looking for their parents. They're looking for their family to love them. And that's because there's a void within themselves. They truly don't love themselves. And like you said, when you don't know who you are, somebody else will come along and tell you that. And you'll hold on to it if they told you, hey, you're no good, you're stupid, you're whatever. That's how you're going to view yourself, because you don't know who you are. And you're right. It's so important to know who your creator is, because then once you know who your creator is, you will know why I was created. And that's what it was in iRobot. It was one robot who kept saying, I know what I was created for. Didn't matter what anybody else came and told it. It said, my creator purposely made me to do fill in the blank. And this is the purpose that I am going to fulfill no matter what. We don't know who we are, therefore we don't know who our purpose is. Therefore, we're looking for everybody else to make us whole, to make us feel good, to make us feel complete. We're looking in, all the wrong places. Everything that you ever will need in life is already in you. You were born with it. You were born because the Creator made you complete. And so you're looking outwardly for everything to fulfill you, and you're wondering why there's still a big void. Because you failed to start in the place where it is. It's within. He's the creator is within you. Everything that you need is already in you. Take the time and get to know who you are. Take the time to get to know who your creator is, because you won't be looking for the world to tell you if you're great, if you're fantastic, if you're beautiful, if you're smart. You will already know it within yourself. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people who are out here who are broken and truly lost. And they're just wandering aimlessly. And they're trying to figure out, why is it every time I get into a relationship, it fails? Why is it every time that I pick a job, it doesn't work out? Why is it that every time I have an idea, it just flops? And that's because you're looking for your existence or your being, your purpose, why you're here, from all the external sources when you need to be looking within. And that was something that I had for years a challenge with. I could see somebody and be like, oh wow, that's great, you know what your purpose is. I don't know what mine is. So I was just going through the motions, creating these so-called fake goals and wondering why I'm hitting these goals and I still feel empty. Chasing things, figuring if I achieve this, I'm going to feel better about who I am. And it didn't happen. And that was because I didn't know who I was. I didn't truly love myself. I didn't know why I was created, who my creator was, really. And that's why I continued to feel emptiness.
This is the key. This is a very, very key point. And I want to make sure this comes across really clear. You, to find self-love, you have to first speak truth to yourself and start to live a righteous life. Those are two key things that you must obtain before God will show you who you really are. Mm-hmm. That's like your child doing something wrong. Do you reward your child for doing something wrong and not striving to do better? No. So why would you think that God would do that for you? So when your world, you recognize, become aware that your world is tumbling and is crumbling and all this other stuff, understand that 9 times out of 10, you're not living a righteous life. So the first thing you should be aware of is, I need to start living righteous, because it tells us that if we start to live righteous and we find out self-love and we find self-control and all this other stuff, then we're supposed to find out who we are. We can have our own connection with God. Why would he want to reward you for something if you're not willing to live a righteous life?
What is righteous?
Research it and just look up righteousness. Living by
doing the right thing. And what is the right thing? I'm going to say it's, in a very short, quick way, do unto others as you would want someone to do to you. So whether you're lying, right? Would you want somebody to lie to you? If you're stealing something, would you want somebody to steal from you? Like, that's an easy gauge to realize, like, ooh, maybe I'm not living a righteous life. Always put yourself on the receiving end before you make an action to say, would I want someone to do this to me? And then that can help you determine, is this righteous? Don't go by what the law is. Please don't, because just because it's the law doesn't mean that it's right. If today they created a law to say it's okay for you to shoot your neighbor if they come over onto your property, is that right? That was a horrible analogy, but it's like, just because it's law doesn't mean that it's right.
You're not talking about spiritual law, so just understand she's not talking about spiritual laws. Yeah.
See, there you go, the complexity. No, we're talking about the laws of the land that your government puts into place.
So, that's one thing that you have to do. And then asking the right questions. If you don't ask the right questions, how do you expect your life to turn around? Well, one question that you can ask yourself, why the heck are you even here? What is your purpose here on earth? What are you here to do? That's one important question. And when you ask that question, and then the next thing you do, get by yourself. And then learn to listen to God's voice, and he'll start to show up in your life. Ask that question. Sit by yourself with God. If you read the story about Jesus, that's exactly what he did all the time. Solitude, going to places that a lot of people consider lonely, and just like want to hear.
Like peaceful.
Yeah, but a lot of us don't. We start to panic when we're by ourselves.
Well, that's because some people don't like to really have to address their own thoughts, what's really going on in their life. So we constantly need distraction.
Yeah, and there's so many distractions in the world today. But the next one is when you ask the question, you get in by yourself, and then start being honest with yourself. A lot of people are not honest with themselves. They want everybody in the world to be honest with them, but when they go home, they're not even honest with themselves. What's one thing that a lot of people are not honest with themselves about? They don't love who they are. They fake it all day, every day, but not realizing, so looking in the mirror and say, you know what? I really don't love who I am. Why? How do I really know that I don't love who I am? Because look at how all the disrespectful things I'm doing to myself. Mm-hmm. Look at all the disrespectful things I'm allowing other people to do to me.
Yeah.
Like, that's not self-love, because if you don't respect yourself, how do you expect somebody else to have love for you? You got the respect is for yourself and respect for others. Like she just said, treat people like you want to be treated. First, you want to respect yourself, and then because you respect yourself and love yourself, you're going to do that to somebody else naturally. So that's what I would say. Be honest with yourself, because a lot of people are not being honest with themselves. So that's my three things. Anyone, any questions that you think that somebody can ask themselves?
No, I think it's a good thing. To have that mirror in front of you and do it on a regular basis, because sometimes we start to believe our own lies, or we don't want to really face who we are, and we think we're one way and truthfully we're not. It's always interesting how we perceive ourselves versus how other people perceive us. And I like to ask people, hey, what do you think about this about me? And not saying that they're right, but it's like sometimes we go a little too far believing our own BS. And we go through life thinking, hey, I'm the best friend ever anybody could ever want. But if you really take the time and say, you can't be a friend to anybody, you don't even know what that looks like. Because again, like you said, you don't even really love yourself. So how can you be a friend to somebody else? How can you truly love somebody else when you don't love yourself? It starts within. Who am I? What am I doing with my life? What is it that I don't like about myself that I can change? Who am I trying to please? We are so consumed with, we're people pleasers. Everything is, I want somebody to befriend me. I want to be famous. I want people to worship me in a sense. And it's like, why do you need everybody else to justify who you are? We have to be okay with being who we are and really doing what the Creator has intended for us to do. No matter what scale it's on. It could be on a small scale, it could be on a large scale. But stop chasing after what man thinks of you and chase after what God thinks of you.
Yep. So, and then the last thing, you can get you a coach and that can keep you someone that's going to help you out. So that's all we have. We have more, but I mean, it's a little bit, not much time left. So We're going to end it right there. And just remember to like and subscribe and share it with a friend. Until the next time.
Love you.